So Lucy, thanks for agreeing to talk to me this afternoon. What are the sorts of issues you think are really important in the refugee and asylum seeker area?
Well, the three most important issues that we're focusing on would be immigration detention, because we haven't really seen any meaningful reform of Australia's immigration detention policies since the last Universal Periodic Review. And also we're seeing the reintroduction of offshore processing under very poor conditions. Refoulement or forced return to situations where refugees may face persecution, and we've seen weakening of legal protections against forced return. We've seen turning back of boats at sea after very rudimentary screening of asylum seekers in a very vulnerable situation. And we're also seeing really a litany of laws and policies that effectively discriminate against asylum seekers and refugees because they arrived in Australia by boat and deny them access to the services and opportunities that would otherwise be available to them.
Okay, so quite a long list there.
Quite a long list, yes.
And what are you finding is the reaction by the states to these sorts of issues when you do raise them?
I think, unfortunately, Australia's policies are quite well known internationally. There has been a lot of attention on Australia's policies because I think of the extent of the human rights abuses involved. What I have found, though, is that even though they're quite high profile, states still aren't aware of the extent to which our policies go. There's been quite a lot of surprise, for example, that there's no time limit on detention under Australian law. I think the full extent of what's happening in our offshore detention centres in Nauru and Papua New Guinea isn't known. And so I think it has been valuable to have these discussions with countries so that they can get across that detail and make positive recommendations to Australia for reform.
Sure. And are there any particular countries you're trying to target, or any countries that are showing particular interest in this area?
It is quite difficult, I think, when advocating on this issue because, as you know, many countries around the world don't have themselves an enviable track record on treatment of refugees and asylum seekers. But it is a great issue of interest across many European countries at the moment because they're facing their own challenges with assisting refugees. Some countries have a more positive track record, like Italy and Sweden and Germany. But we are also looking at countries in other regions of the world, such as South America, where there are some very positive approaches to refugees there amongst nations such as Brazil, to try and look at where countries may be in a good position to make recommendations in Australia because they have good practices at home.
Great. Well, that's been very informative, Lucy. Hopefully everyone back home also found that useful. I guess we're signing off here from Geneva, and we'll hope to send you another update soon.